You're listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, history, etc. Because we like to do that for fun, so we might as well do it for potential profit. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who is going to start saying mama, just in sort of his everyday slang, vernacular.
I'm Sam. I'm the one who puts on a lab coat and glasses, and all of a sudden I'm a scientist.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one who also gets scared when their phone goes off because it means somebody's actually calling them.
Oh, God. Guys, in this day and age, it is quite terrifying. It's when it does, the occasion when it does happen.
Genuinely, I can tell you this now. I could not tell you what my ringtone is. I can tell you what my email alert is. I can tell you what my text alert is. My text alert is the TARDIS, obviously. But like, ringtone, haven't got a clue. Normally it's on silent. You just hear it buzzing, you know?
Yeah, I think my phone's been on silent for about 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it should have been mine's the one that's the ringtone got changed in the translation from Japanese to English for no apparent reason that I can work out.
Well, I think it's because the tones are in Japanese, like it's Japanese music, so you got to translate the literal notes to something that dumb Americans can understand.
Like, would you have done that if it was like the ringtone for One Miss Call was something that everyone knew, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony? Like, if the ringtone was da 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 dun da 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 dun, would they still have changed it to like Wagner? Like, I don't know. It's Elvis playing, instead now. Like, what? It's ridiculously weird thing to change.
So I played both of them for my wife, and she said, well, I like the American one because it's slower and it's creepier. And I was like, okay.
In the nicest way, Jacob, your wife is wrong.
Yeah. Well, she likes Scooby-Doo, so.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I didn't watch the One Miss Call remake. I've seen the original, and if it's just going to be that, but worse and with more jump scares, I just don't want to put myself through.
Here's the thing: there's more jump scares, but they're less effective.
I didn't watch the Japanese version, so Sam, we're on two different wavelengths.
I rewatched the Japanese version, and today I kind of half-watched at the side One Was Called 2, which I had seen, and remembered there was a scene at the beginning in a kitchen, and that was about it. And probably now I could tell you there's a scene in the kitchen, and that's about it. Congratulations.
Well, this is our Bad Film Club episode for horror. I mean, this is fertile ground for another future bad movie club. But what is it about bad movies that is appealing, fellas, or not appealing if you're Kieran? Sometimes you don't like them if you're Kieran.
I mean, I like to rant about bad movies. So.
Yeah, I mean, the worst ones to talk about, like the inept but unremarkable ones. You just can't grasp onto anything that'll be of interest to talk about. But I think all of ours have an element that pushes them above that and makes them interesting in one way or another, really. But I think unless you're really weird, you don't just watch bad movies all the time just for entertainment. It's like it's in a certain environment, with a certain time. Put them on with a group of you and a few beers, and they can be quite fun to, riff against. But
I think it's just an element of like filmic morbid fascination. I think it's the cinematic equivalent of going past a couple of cars and a police van. With dented fenders by the side of the road.
Yeah.
You can't help but you're rubbernecking going, what the hell's gone on here,
Yeah. I remember when Cats came out a few years ago, it seemed to be like a period of critics trying to one-up each other who could be the most cruel and witty about, tearing it apart, basically.
Go listen many years ago to... Sam, were you part of Second Cut at the time when we did Cats?
No, that was before I joined. I think I joined 5 weeks in, and you did that on week 3 or something.
Well,
Jacob subjected me to Cats is more the thing.
Well, we talked. We have a whole episode on Cats. I saw Cats in theaters, and
me too.
I was under the influence, and boy, was it confusing. But what fascinates me,
probably a better film.
Maybe It's arguable. What's interesting about bad movies is when you watch like good movies all the time, you can really pick up on like, oh, hey, this is something that's weird that doesn't make sense. There's all these incongruencies. There's things that feel normal or close to normal, but they aren't. And if we're gonna move to theory stuff, it's sort of like if we're looking at in semiotics, it's like semiotic entropy, where there are signs but they're collapsing. The meaning is escaping and disintegrating. Like it's very much like when people talk about like, oh, you have specific meaning for this thing, but then also that could shift, and bad movies are the traditional sign sort of just completely failing to convey their meaning in the way that they're supposed to because of ineptness and because of like interference or rush, those kinds of things. A lot of different reasons behind it.
Yeah.
I'll just say I have apparently low bandwidth, so apologies if I fall in and out.
It's accepted.
We'll deal with it.
You may get a missed call at some point.
Well,
didn't you have technical difficulties when we were doing these last Halloween when we talked about Shutter? Didn't you keep coming in and out like something?
Many years ago when we did Shutter, yes, I think I did. It was amazing. We had bad bandwidth, and then I got better internet, and I was fine for a while. And now I've moved back down here, and our internet seems to decide to occasionally just go on the blink again. So I apologize if that's the case, but I think it kind of fits with half of the other movies that we're discussing now that my connection keeps cutting up.
We also all picked like fairly one maybe more so than the others, but fairly competent films. Films that have a zero budget. It's not like this is just people with cameras trying to make stupid bad horror films, like really cheap. Yeah. What do you like cinema verite style Paranormal Activity ripoffs? Like, there's plenty of those. There's plenty of just terrible low budget films, horror films that exist that we're not talking. We're talking about studio just kind of crap.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got to bear in mind, no one sets out to make a bad movie, do they? And these things turned out that way for a variety of reasons. And
I don't know. Tommy Wiseau's got a new movie coming out the next few weeks, so.
Yeah, but Tommy Wiseau claims that they always intended The Room to be a comedy, and that's just a blatant lie. He's trying to get on the irony bandwagon basically, and be part of the crowd laughing at him. Yeah, to make it so they're laughing with him rather than at him.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, nobody sets out to make a bad movie, and there's a certain point where if the film's of a quality where you can tell they literally had no money and they were doing whatever they could to make a film, I will give it a slightly more of a pass, because as somebody that has set out to make short films and has failed to meet deadlines and it not come off for one reason or another, it's tricky to get everything in place, to produce it, to get everything in, to get your shots in and get out of it and get it edited and get it out, even if it's a 20-minute short film, and you've got 4 nights to shoot it. And especially if it's somebody that's inexperienced, it's maybe the first or second thing they've ever shot other than kind of a TikTok video. There are some things you don't know. For example, when we were shooting, just before I worked on My Happy Ending, I was shooting somebody's MA film. I did it from my script, and I was directing it, and I hadn't directed with actually more than myself and somebody else holding a camera before. I had 4 or 5 people. So there's stuff you just don't know. And it was all outside, and there was some kind of dusk running around stuff, and there's some stuff that you kind of, with sort of moonlight kind of night times, and there's some dusk setting, and you don't realize how much light you actually need. Like, in order to make it seem like, oh, it's sort of gloomy, you need to get it literally, the sun is starting to set is when you shoot. You kind of take it down. And for nighttime shooting, unless you have massive floodlights, if it's outside, you need to shoot it kind of with an hour to go before it's completely pitch black. Stuff like that you don't know. So you learn as you go, and anyone that's completed a film when it's obviously had like, I don't know, $4,000 that they managed to save for a year from working 3 jobs, and it's everyone else has pitched in, stuff like that, I will give a bit of a pass to. When it's like $15-20 million, you don't have an excuse anymore.
There's also movies like I think of Thanksgiving or Ginger Dead Man, where like they're trying to get on dumb movie concept like idea, and it's just executed really poorly, and the writing is bad, the jokes are bad, the way in which like the creators are oriented like ethically and in terms of humor and stuff is just it's not good, it's not funny, and it just kind of fails across the board because they were trying to make it, oh, this is going to be so funny, haha, it's going to be dumb, but then you don't do it well, and that kind of makes it worse. Thanksgiving is definitely one, if we did this again in the future, I would do for this, because it just doesn't make any sense. It's so dumb.
It's like I half thought about doing a trauma film, but then I'm like, but at the same time, trauma is a style. Like it's intentionally schlocky that it's meant to be schlocky, and that's part of the joke.
It's bad when you try to make trauma and then you fail at that. You do that poorly. That's bad.
Yeah.
Do we have any other general or theory things to say about bad movies, guys?
There's not much theory to this episode, I don't think. I think we need to crack on and.
That's one of the gaps. We need to do more exploration of bad films aside from like audience and cultural, that kind of stuff. There needs to be real scholarship into just terrible films.
I probably should have rewatched My Name is Nomi, which is the film about the fandom behind Showgirls. And that kind of gets into why certain areas of fandom kind of embrace kind of what perceives to be bad films and kind of elevate them to an extent through their passion for the material and for how much they enjoy watching them with the crowd and stuff like that. There's been a few documentaries about stuff like this. There was Best Worst Movie as well about Troll 2. So there've been a few that kind of get stuck into kind of these terrible movies becoming like cult hits, Again, that's very much down to like audiences embracing them and getting some sort of enjoyment out of them through, I don't know, shared.
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of laughing with them as well as at them, I suppose.
At some point, I will pick up and read. The guys that do Bad Film Club at Abattoir every year, they also used to run it out of Chapter in Cardiff. I don't know if they still do, but Nico, who I think is also a lecturer there, wrote a book in 2016. I've got it up on Amazon called Rubber Sharks and Wooden Acting: The Ultimate Bad Movie Guide, and going into that. So I will read that pick that up and read that at some point before the next Bad Film Club that we do. But it's interesting the fact that we always turn up for it. And I mean, I've said this before. They used to do Bad Film Club, and their thing was like, if you've got a phone, leave it on. It's going to be more entertaining than this. Like, please feel free to heckle. They had laser pointers and just make fun of everything on the screen.
Your phone ringing will actually help someone not focus on the movie for a second.
Yeah, like they just sit. Like their thing was, we're going to sit by the side of the screen. We're going to play it. We're going to hand around sweets. Please make the rappers as loud as possible because it'll drown out the sound of the film. And we're just going to rip into it. And I think when you've got a load of people together, when you've got something to laugh at, when something's so bad, I think there's a theory of like Christmas cracker jokes, why they're awful. Which is
what is a Christmas cracker joke?
So you know what Christmas crackers are?
No. I was picturing crackers, so...
Okay, so in the UK, we have, like, cardboard sleeves that are kind of... You pull them, and there's a bit of, like, a paper with, like, a... I don't know, when you pull it, it goes bang. And inside, there's, like, a little paper hat and a little toy, and quite often there's a joke inside. And normally, the jokes have a reputation for being absolutely awful related to Christmas and snow and December-y, things like that.
Yeah, so just before you have your Christmas lunch, you'll pull the crackers around the table and you'll read out your jokes and put on your silly little hats and
a bit of
I can't believe I was today years old when I realised Americans don't do Christmas crackers.
Yeah, it's kind of like an it's an entertainment kind of thing.
We're getting
Sort
on
of
Zoom on Christmas now and doing that.
Yeah. So the theory with them all being bad is that you have bad jokes because when you tell a joke, you automatically split a room between the people that like the joke or get the joke and the people that don't. So you immediately divide everything together. When you tell a bad joke, everyone comes together because you're against the joke. So it's kind of bringing everyone together in that way. Everyone goes, "Oh, that was awful," that kind of thing. So everyone comes together as a unit. I think bad films almost operate in a similar way. If you've got a crowd of people, you're all watching it together. You're all going, "This is awful," throwing your popcorn. You're all having a laugh, and it's a communal experience in a weird way that kind of like, comedy movies, something like Deadpool is one of the only films I actually wish I'd have seen with a crowded theater, because that coming out of nowhere would have been great to see in a crowded auditorium. Some films just don't work, and I don't want to see them with anyone because I actually want to watch the film and don't want anyone to talk. Stuff like that I want to see with a crowded film. Bad films I want to see with everyone heckling the thing, when nobody cares and you just get on and go.
Yeah.
And Sam is doing live research onto the history of Christmas crackers. We shall have to come to that.
I just thought Jacob might be interested to read up on them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing
Bookmark
as
it,
soon as we
Jacob.
get off. But yeah, it seems like
for our Christmas special, we will make sure that there is a film in there where they pull Christmas crackers. I will find a film where they do that just so that I can recommend it for our Christmas episodes.
Kieran, I'm glad you brought up that book, because now I'm gonna go check that out, because so much of what I ever find about like bad movies, it's always about audience, it's about culture, it's about entertainment. It's the Roger Ebert like crappy movie books that he wrote. It's episodes like this. It's articles that we write about really bad movies where we're trying to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And
But by the way, I always keep Roger Ebert's compilation "Your Movie Sucks" next to my laptop. For
Didn't he
this,
do Your
just in
Movie
case-
Sucks too as well?
I have that
I think
one.
so. Yeah. Very disappointingly, none of our films talking about today are in this.
No, he was too good for them, I think.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I mean, I was doing research today at work because my particular student that I'm the LSA for wasn't in, so I'd got some time. So I got my laptop up and I was looking through some stuff, and I've grabbed some screenshots from a book on kind of the Japanese kind of horror cycle. But even then, even when it's comparing kind of the original to the remake of One Missed Call, even though they'll go, there's a comment in there going, "I'm not claiming any of these films are good, but I'm saying that even mediocre films have stuff worthy of study." It's commenting on like the textual part of it and related to the thematics. It's not kind of like the fact that these movies are bad and therefore digging into that and what happened to make this movie bad. Probably because it's an academic thing rather than a kind of. I think it's almost because. If you're an academic, when you go into a topic, you go at it from a kind of objective point of view. To say that something's bad is a very subjective thing to analyze. And I'm just making sure I haven't dropped out.
No, you're good.
No.
It is
considering your points.
It is subjective. Well, I was replying to somebody, friend of the show, Joe. But yeah, it is subjective, but also when you are, well, now he's dropped out. But anyway, yeah, it's subjective, but when you've
the gremlins are back in the system.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes.
When you've studied film to the extent that we have, I mean, it's not necessarily objective, but you have the theoretical and all that understandings in order to like explain the ways in which it is bad beyond just I think it is bad. It's bad because part of good artistry fundamentally is having skill. What's the difference between Dadaist art and just pure crap art? Well, the person making Dada art has an understanding, has a background, all that stuff, whereas just a child making a terrible drawing, it's not objective, but there could be levels of understanding that differentiate.
I suppose it's different. Yeah, difference between intention and kind of the actual resulting piece of art.
Yes. Kieran, you
Sorry,
did
I
freeze,
dropped out.
but
I'm
you're
back
back.
in. Yes, I am back.
Well, with all that, Sam,
Probably
let's talk about
unfortunately trying to run away from these movies, but I'm back. I
Sa-
suffered so you don't have to.
Sam. Let's talk about your midstream change movie, Alone in the Dark.
Midstream change?
Well, maybe that's a bit much. You picked something else, but then we went to this
Okay,
instead.
well, yeah. I knew I was going to do Uwe Boll as my focus director, and I remembered years and years ago I'd seen House of the Dead, and that's a horror film, and I used to play the game. I remember that, and it's probably terrible, but I remember it being kind of weirdly entertained by it despite that. But I thought, no, it's too easy. I don't want to watch a Uwe Boll film twice. Instead, I'm going to go for the infamously bad one that's often rated among the worst of all time. So yeah, I've chosen Alone in the Dark from 2005. Uwe Boll is a German. Let's be kind and call him a filmmaker, shall we? He's he does a lot of video game adaptations, and none of them have turned out well. Basically,
Sure.
I mean, critics are famously very unkind to him, but he generally deserves it, I think.
Yeah, amazingly, he makes Paul W.S. Anderson look like an absolute genius.
Oh, he does. Yeah,
I think is the thing, and I'm very upset because he also directed the one music video I could find that he directed was for "I Wish I Had an Angel" by Nightwish, and I'm like, the only reason I have my Nightwish, one of my Nightwish t-shirts on, is like trying to get something good out of this, and they use it for the closing music, and it was just like, oh, why did you degrade them in that way, you know?
Yeah. So he's been described as a cinematic train wreck. One critic said any other maker of a bad movie can take solace in the fact that it's okay. They'll tell themselves, "I didn't make Alone in the Dark."
And this is where I go to, and I'm like, hang on, how is this guy kind of continuously getting paid and getting gigs, whereas other people that make decent movies only get one like every 6 years? Like, what is going on? Like, you know, in the nicest way, how many execs is he sleeping with in order to keep getting repeat gigs? Because that's the only way I can see it happening, you know.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? So this has it holds a 1% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it made it made 12.7 million on a 20 million budget, but made back a bit more on its home release.
Yeah.
Eventually got a sequel a few years later, but it was basically like a reboot. Really, it was just not really connected to the original film, and someone else directed it. So, I mean, I never really kind of played the original games, but I know the general premise. You know, it's like you're fighting shadow monsters with lights, basically. This
is exposition a major part of the video game, or
I don't think so. No. I mean, my first
Rod Sterling exposition, yeah.
Okay, so this one is basically you've got Christian Slater, Tara Reid, and Stephen Dorff. So Christian Slater's like a paranormal expert, Tara Reid's a scientist, and Stephen Dorff's is like a mercenary, leader of a group of military guys, supporting this kind of secret government agency, basically. Sorry, did you hear any of that?
I did.
Yeah. But basically the whole thing, it's just there are bad shadow monsters from another dimension or beneath the earth or something like that. A Native American tribe found a way to fight them centuries ago, and then they all died out, and then the monsters are back, and then some evil scientists kidnap some children and try to crossbreed them with the monsters. One of those children escapes and grows up to be Christian Slater, and then he helps fight back against the shadow monsters, and and then there's some evil scientist guys on the sides of the monsters as well. So that's basically broad brushstrokes what's going on, or how much definitely what I could make out was actually going on. My first note when actually watching this was I just put what is this opening narration? It's like a longer text crawl than Star Wars has. It's like really clunkily kind of introduced like the main concepts. I think there's a line along the lines of in an attempt to merge man with creature, and just some bollocks after that.
I was going to say, it's like as much as Blade Runner is my favorite movie, the opening kind of exposition, it's like, I understand they had to get it out of the way, but it's not the greatest ever in the world.
Yeah.
The worst part about the crawl is the narration isn't like focus. Like it seems like it should be flashing up instead of crawling across the screen. And it's also the length of I don't know. I said a novella. But then they're going to go on and re-explain all of this throughout the movie, so it's pointless.
Yeah, obviously
exactly.
we blame the Phantom Creeps for all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who actually recorded the opening narration, but it sounds like he's doing it on the way out the door. It's like there's just
I'll say another thing about the voices. What are their accents? I don't understand. Are they Brits putting on really bad American accents? Is that just them? Like, they're the most It sounds like if an alien saw like 3 movies that had to be American and went, right now you have to pass as Americans.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like the supporting cast, because like the main 3.
Mainly, yeah.
Slater's fine.
Yeah. I was just like, I was watching this kind of half trying not to watch it because it's 10 minutes and saw some of the CGI. I was like, yeah, I'm out. And it's just like awful Tomb Raider, like Wishmaster, but worse. And I'm hearing some of the voices and going, I do not want to hear anything else. It's just not good.
Yeah, so you have all this narration kind of, setting out all the kind of the mythology and everything. And then a few scenes later, you have a security guard who just repeats most of it. He says, oh, and of course, this tribe used to be here, and they did this, and this. And it's just like, well, if you're going to have that in dialogue, why did you have that big block of text? Apparently, that was through test screenings. Apparently, audiences complained of being confused, so that they added that on after the facts, to make things clearer. I don't think it's necessarily the plot or the ideas that make it confusing. It's just the way it's made, just the way it's filmed and the way it's edited, and just like the scene geography and where characters are from moment to moment. It's just all over the place.
The security guard is my favorite character in the movie because he just walks up and explains everybody's relationship and the museum and the plot of the movie and the opening crawl and what happened to Tara Reid's boyfriend and hits on her.
There's just weird stuff, like when kind of the main head kind of, I don't know, museum curator guy gets back from his thing and the other person's kind of, is it Tara Reid? I don't know. I'm trying to ignore this exists. It's kind of doing a thing and getting, it's like, oh, I didn't know you were here. It's like, why are you looking at this? It's shot in a way that it looks like the background's green screened. Like, because it's completely out of focus and fuzzed, and they're so crisp in the foreground. And I'm like, there are better green screens than this, and even if you've done it with a real set, why would you shoot it like this? And then you get wider shots, and it's like, but they are in a proper set. So, was it just badly shot, or was the footage unusable, and they didn't have the set again, so they had to shoot it from plates? Like,
I mean, I know first time I see Christian Slater in the back of a cab, and he's doing the classic, my name is, I've already forgot his character name.
Maximus Meridius Dexterus.
Yeah, whatever his name is, but he kind of does like a kind of film noirish kind of what's meant to be like a film noirish kind of narration about kind of who he is, what he's about, and everything like that. But again, it just sounds like there's no like additional like sound mixing at all. It doesn't sound like with voiceovers generally, it sounds like it's a bit removed from the soundscape of everything else in the film. It's not
done in a booth.
It seems naff to be like actually echoey, but it sounds on a different level to everything else. This just sounds like Chris Slater just recorded it like on the set, like between takes, and they just slapped it on there. It just sounds like on the same level as everything else in the scene. And then the dub taker out to check he wasn't actually just saying his backstory out loud to the taxi driver.
Well, I love in the opening, so still on the professor, because you don't really know who people are. He's on the boat, and he calls in a hit on Christian Slater, and I'm like, okay, so this is the bad guy. And then later, I find out he's the professor. I was so confused. Why is this professor calling in hits on Christian Slater?
Yeah. And then like the first like big moment of action, where he's it's like the attempted hit, someone tries to assassinate him, so drives another taxi into his taxi, and they have a bit of a fight. And then the guy who's trying to kill him runs off, climbs a fence, climbs up onto a bridge, only to jump down back onto Christian Slater. It's like, well, why did you run away and do all that extra stuff just to jump on him? It's like you could carry on fighting.
I found a section on Wikipedia, and much of it is an extract from a book. Okay, so we've got the intro, and I'm going to quote it because again, most of it is from the book, and I think this explains a lot of it. So there's a couple of paragraphs, but please bear with me. So it goes like this. So Blair Erickson came up with the first drafts of the script for Alone in the Dark. According to Erickson, Uwe Boll, through various emails, suggested changes that would turn it from a thriller into an action film. Erickson stated he discussed the treatment and spoke negatively of his working relationship on Something Awful. So I'm guessing that's a podcast web series. And says this: the original script took the Alone in the Dark premise and depicted it as if it was actually based on a true story of private investigator in the Northeast whose missing person cases begin to uncover a disturbing paranormal event. Told through the eyes of a writer, depicting them as real-life blue-collar folks who'd never experienced to find hidden beings waiting for them in the dark. We tried to stick close to the H.P. Lovecraft style and the low-tech nature of the original game, always keeping the horror in the shadows.
Low-tech nature?
Yeah, so it's literally just lights and kind of the scares. And then he says, thankfully, Dr. Boll was able to hire his loyal team of hacks to crank out something much better than our crappy story and add in all sorts of terrifying horror movie essentials like opening gateways to alternate dimensions, bimbo blonde archaeologists, sex scenes, mad scientists, slimy dog monsters, special army forces designed to battle slimy CGI dog monsters, Tara Reid, Matrix, slow motion gun battle, and car chases. Oh yeah, and a 10-minute opening backstory scroll read aloud to an illiterate audience, the only people able to successfully miss all the negative reviews. I mean, hell, Boll knows that's where the real scares lie. And then there's a comment. As a result, there were 7 distinct scripts in circulation without a consensus to which one was used.
Nice.
I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the quote about it, like being originally Lovecraft inspired, but then of course, Boll came back in and said, "No, I want to do something that's more like The Crow or Blade." So just these two cool 90s movies, with like Vegas supernatural kind of elements to it. Yeah, I just want to copy those rather than do anything more interesting.
And as much as it's a joke, I actually think The Matrix is to blame for a lot of stuff. I mean, I think a lot of the style of like Resident Evil and Underworld actually, and kind of that dark kind of action kind of thing with trench coats wouldn't have been done without the Matrix. The reason why X-Men, they don't have the original costumes is because the production designers went, Matrix is popular now, we want them all to be black to make it like cash in on Matrix kind of effects. And without those other films, I don't think this one would have got greenlit either. So I think there is actually a descendancy from Matrix, which has been warped out of everything and just kind of disgusting. Because there's bits where he kind of punches guys through windows in slow motion right at the beginning, like wire fu style. So what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. I mean, in the Matrix, there's a reason that everyone knows martial arts, because you can instantly like download anything you need to learn, because you're in a computer program. And this everyone just knows martial arts because.
And here's the thing. If you're a cop in a South Korean movie, you can get away with it because they all know martial arts and they're all absolutely ripped, and they actually want police forces to be and look like. In the US, you can't get away with it because nobody thinks the police forces are ripped and all know martial arts in the nicest way, Jacob.
So
this is the view of the rest of the world. Sorry.
I get that this comes from a video game, and it's still insane that like the angle that the story goes for is like, it's essentially the 1940s private investigator thing. Except what he used to work for instead of the police force is like the super secret paranormal FBI that he could just casually go visit. He could talk to.
It's like the BPRD from Hellboy, you know.
Yeah, and
that's basically what he worked for.
Also, in the Matrix vein, his outfit is a duster and a black wife beater. And that's what this private investigator of paranormal stuff. So, like, it could have been, like, supernatural, but instead, no. Yeah. It's like, just, it's insane because there's a giant secret anti-paranormal police force.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, and bear in mind also, it's around this time as Buffy having its final season, just had its final season.
It will be about this time, yeah.
Which a lot is stemming from. So when Rusty Davis created the Doctor Who spin-off Torchwood, he literally said, "I want it in a base like Buffy." You know, and a lot of these things like the Librarian series, obviously Tomb Raider has got the movies again now. There's rumors that Indiana Jones is going to start kicking in. You've got all these things kicking around, and he's just like, shove all of it in, go. And it's like, no, create your own franchise. Like, why would you do this? Like, it's awful.
I would like to know how much was stolen from various culture things versus just copying the video games straight up. That would be fun to know.
I think what happened is he essentially created his own thing, slapped the tag of the video game on it for marketing purposes, and went with it.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly never heard of the concept of, saving your monster reveal, building up to it. Literally, the first time we see the fawn full in frames, like see them and everything. It's like the whole point of them in the games is that they're not visible most of the time because they melt into the darkness basically. But they're like xenomorphs in the sun. They're just there.
I was gonna say, Sam, speaking of ripping off, what are these monsters called? What do they call them?
They're called Xenos.
Xenos with the Z. Not copying.
Yeah, which maybe from the game, I'd have to check. But one thing I kind of came to, like, one of the main issues of this, the whole point of the games, the whole selling point of the games was you're using light to kill monsters and solve puzzles, and it's all based around like light levels and darkness and what shadows can do to you and everything like this. But in this, that concept's never really used. It's like they mention like special bullets, with like chemicals and to make them light up and stuff. But generally in this movie, light's got nothing to do with it. It's like guns kill the monsters and bombs solve the puzzles, basically. If they can't work the way around something, just blow a hole in that wall. Fine.
If in doubt, shoot it.
Whenever he does go, like, not even sneak in, uses somebody else's ID to get into the super secret police building. And he's like getting the arms from the medical examiner. He's like, just go ahead and give me like every light bullet that you have. give me all of them.
Once again, from the Matrix, I think of what do you need? Guns. Lots of guns. This is how we do it now.
Yeah, it is.
America.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel a bit sorry for Tara Reid in this. I mean, she is awful, but basically she got absolutely dog-piled on for this film, and I don't think she's any worse than anyone else in the cast, really. I think they're all bad, but I think it's unfair to single her out just because she's the hot woman, basically. But that was the kind of early 2000s for you, I suppose.
Well, I don't think Slater is like necessarily bad. Like he's just fine,
I think 9 times out of 10 he's not acting. I think he's just, you can see it on his face thinking, why am I in this? I need to buy my agent.
He's just being Christian Slater, like in Archer.
Yeah, yes, but apparently Ewan Ball has said in an interview since he quickly regretted getting Tara Reid in the film. He didn't think she was right for the role, which is why he decides, we'll tie her hair back and put some glasses on her. That'll make her look like a scientist.
Yep, this is
exactly what they did for Denise Richards in The World Is Not Enough. I seem to remember.
Well, that's the thing. Any scientist character, it's like she's one step away from tripping over, spilling all her papers, having somebody mistreat her, and then taking off her glasses, letting her hair down, putting on a costume, and becoming a supervillain. Like it's this is
Yeah.
this is the formula now.
I will say, just now quickly reading about Christian Slater, he seems to have had some substance abuse issues during this era, which may explain
Why he signed on.
Yeah, just it's money. $20 million budget for this movie.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that went on Christian Slater.
How much of that went to Christian
Went on
Slater's
his drugs,
cocaine
yeah.
addiction?
Yeah.
Quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll say this.
you've all
I'll
had
say
a
this,
cocaine addiction at the same time, maybe.
I mean, I'm not digging too much into his personal life. He doesn't sound like a particularly pleasant person. But yeah, so I'll give it this: that the monsters in this, they look about as good as whenever Doctor Who of this era would do it on rare occasion. They do a full CG monster. It's that kind of level of kind of animation, I suppose.
And it's not like the BBC threw a lot of money at the first couple of seasons of Doctor Who.
No,
They really
exactly,
didn't.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
may
it's
be
like
if it got like a million episode, you were lucky. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like when they try to do a full CG werewolf in David Tennant's first season. It's that kind of level.
Yeah, it's not great.
There's a weird bit where they're going from like the main base of this organization over to it's an abandoned gold mine, isn't it? Where like this thing at the bottom of it, which where the portal is, where the monsters come from, I think. But it's got to get from the base to this mine, and you see this kind of shot, like this traveling shot of like a helicopter. It was like a really badly done kind of voiceover of them discussing stuff in the helicopter. I'm thinking, is there a reason we can't actually see the actors inside the helicopter? Is that a budget thing? was
20 mil, it can't be a budget reason.
No, yeah, because they do have like 3 helicopters visible at one point, don't they? I mean,
they've got 3 helicopters. They're blowing stuff up everywhere, and you can't have them inside the helicopter for like a half a day shoot with plate shots in the background. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Well, I love that the Native American tribe, they're called like the Akbani or something. For some reason, they're the only Native Americans who ever dealt with this or cared about it. But they realized you can actually contain these spirits with gold. So there's a point where they're like, you see, we've forgotten the value of gold. We think it's just, and like it's so much of the dialogue in this is trying to be deep, and it's just not. It's like, but gold doesn't like hold back spirits in real life. So no, we have not forgotten the true value of gold.
The only monsters it actually defeats are Cybermen, but ignore that fact.
Evil.
Sam will be very happy with that. I'm just thinking now. It's like, oh, gold is the most important thing. I'm just thinking like Eric Goldfinger from James Bond. It's like, this is who we need to turn to. This is actually what set it all off. And like decades ago, his plot actually succeeded, and all the Fort Knox's gold got like radioactive and like allowed the monsters to come out. That would be a much better plot, because then it could be James Bond hunting monsters, and I would pay to see that.
Yeah, I mean, this is like too often just unintentionally funny. Just the way some of the lines, just the poor quality of the dialogue, and just the way some of the lines are played. It's like half time you think, was there no second take? Did you just say, yeah, that'll do and move on, or just? The biggest laugh that it got from me though was the bit where they do a scene transition with Christian Slater flapping his coat at the camera, basically. He kind of turns around, just does like a Batman, and they've cut away to another scene. It's just I laughed out loud on that. Main issue I found with this, I mean, obviously many issues. Every technical level performance, the way it's all put together is just the way it looks. Yeah, many reasons. It's called Alone in the Dark. Why is it always so bright in this film?
Yeah, I mean, I complain about people can't shoot night times anymore, but it's like, Come on.
Yeah, it's because all these soldiers are like outside this mine, defending from these swarming creatures, and they've got these generators set up with like floodlights, and then the generator gets taken out and dies, but it's still just as bright as it was before. It's just like there's like no shadows in this for a film like Caught in the Dark. Just, you could have done something really interesting with the lighting, or just at least made it look kind of atmospheric, but.
Yep.
If you cut off the with your lighting and just gone, you could have made something interesting. I'd be with you.
Yeah, yeah. It always just looks like so flat and uninteresting, and
it genuinely looks like a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, it does.
Genuinely, like if you'd have told me this was made from the Sci-Fi Channel for like I don't know 250,000 or 1 mil max, I'd have believed you completely.
Well, Sam, you like the duster transition. My favorites are just the cuts to the establishing shot of the museum over and over and like we know where the professor lady is. You don't need to keep showing us it. Meanwhile, back at the museum.
Yep, that's how it works.
The other thing, the other thing that would have improved that is if they'd have actually stated where the museum was for every single time. It's like, meanwhile, back at Naturalist Museum,
we are missing the like come flashing
museum,
across
city
the screen.
center, Washington. And the just on that, my favorite thing that comes up, or my hated thing, is that if it's in the US, you get the city and the state. If it's anywhere else in the world, you get the city and the whole country.
Yeah.
Like you don't get Mississauga, Ontario, like this.
What if I don't know that Idaho is in the US? Like you can't expect me to understand these things. Like I don't know. Like
sure.
I don't know that Texas is a US state. Just say like
well,
Dallas,
that's
USA.
a bad example. You know that. Kieran, name all 50 states. Do you think you two could combine for that?
Aren't several of them actually technically constitutions?
No, they are 50 states, and then we have like federal territories like Guam and Puerto Rico and things like that.
I tell you what, we could do this, and this game would be so much better than talking about this film, because it's just. I know this is bad film club. At the same time, it's like I do not want to remember that these films exist.
I mean, I'm sort of pleased I finally ticked this one off. I've seen one of the infamously bad ones, and it kind of lives up to the hype, really. But it's just, I'm not sure if it's quite entertaining enough to be like one of those you put on at a party.
It's
so long.
It's long, and it's amazing for all the stuff that's going on. The filmmaking makes it incredibly bland.
It's an hour 40, but it feels longer. I mean, I think I watched the first half last night because I was nodding off in front of it, so I had to finish it this morning.
I'm now realizing my runtime included the commercials on the free service that I used. It took 2 hours.
I should have watched mine with commercials.
There is an extended director's cut apparently out there for some reason. And as far as I understand, the only thing that it adds a bit more gore, and there's an unnecessary sex scene between Chrissy Slater and Tara Reid as well, apparently.
Yeah. Here's the thing: like most times, the director's cut is actually better than the regular film. This is one director's cut I do not want to see. Like, there are odd occasions when the productions, the producers, and the studio heads interfere and it makes a film better. I think this might have been one of them, and also that Steven Seagal film that we saw, whatever it was, Under Siege, or not Under Siege, the other one, the mysticism one with Michael Caine in it.
Yeah. Amazingly, at the Razzies, this was nominated for 2 awards but didn't win either of them. So
what won that year? Did they apply Catwoman that year, or
so Tara Reid was nominated for Worst Actress, and Uwe Boll was nominated for Worst Director. Let's have a look. 26 Golden Raspberry Awards.
What I find, while Sam looks for that, what I find interesting about that is maybe this movie was so boring that something like Catwoman is going to be more entertaining.
Okay, that was the year of Dirty Love, apparently, so that basically swept the Razzies.
Of course.
Yeah. I will say though that the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, which is now not in, it won Worst Picture, Worst Direction, and Worst Actress.
And least special effects.
Yeah, and the worst song or song performance in the film or its end credits was that Nightwish track. And the song is amazing. I've seen it live. Unfortunately, it is not the song to use. I think it's only there because he'd already shot the music video for it, and I think the music video actually included scenes from this film.
I have never heard of Dirty Love, so if you're like me and haven't heard of it, it's a romantic comedy, dark comedy, satire romance, according to IMDb. A jilted photographer goes on a mission to get back at her, I'm guessing the person who jilted him, her philandering model boyfriend. Oh, okay. And along the way discovers that not all love is created equal.
Just to point out that Tara Reid also got nominated for Worst Actress, and in this year, hilariously enough, again, Dirty Love got it with Jenny McCarthy in it, but both Jessica Alba and Hilary Duff got nominated twice for different films that year and didn't win/lose.
Yeah, but by the way, Ball has been nominated three times at the Golden Raspberry Awards for Worst Director. And he also received the Worst Career Achievement Award in 2009. It doesn't say here whether he collects in person like Verhoeven did. But
that's interesting. They called that and not like lifetime disachievement or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
if you haven't seen this one, it's probably morbid curiosity might lead you to seek it out, but it's just
I've just seen
it's not a good time.
I've just seen a thing. Scott Brown of Entertainment Weekly gave the film an F grade, commentating that the film was so bad it's postmodern. That's my new. That's going to be my new favorite insult. This film's so bad it's postmodern.
For me, like it's mostly boring, and that it is like. Really bad. Something like Samurai Cop there's something bad and great in every scene, but for this there's only a couple of things that I was like laughing out loud at, and most of it was just ugh.
I think it's just misjudged, just slightly off enough just to be an unpleasant experience. Most of it, isn't it?
I don't think it's just slightly off. I think everything is slightly off enough. Every single possible category that you could think of.
That's fair, yeah. I mean, just like that first action scene, fight scene, Christian Slater. It's just, it gave me a headache. Honestly, it was. It's like every time we cut, it's like the character was on the other side of the screen or just somewhere else. It just no kind of logical geography at all to it. Just makes your head hurt. And then when you're throwing in like subpar special effects and a story you just don't care about, it's just.
I never thought I'd say this, but if you want a better version of this film, go watch the Tomb Raider movies. Like somehow.
Yeah.
They are improvements.
I guess last point of debate, is this a horror film? Because the entire time I was just going, this is action. This does not count.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, meant to be, yeah.
I think it's horror in the same way that kind of just general sort of monster movie, the same way that something like Godzilla is horror, It's arguable, but at the same way, we're going to keep it close to our hearts. This one, annoyingly, we have to by the same kind of reasoning, even though we'd want to kind of get away from the horror section.
I think the general idea of kidnapping, experimenting on children is probably quite horrific, isn't it? And you got like the Lovecrafty kind of elements that they're mostly ditched, but they're there in the background, I suppose. But yeah, it's just
even Lovecraft's going, "Oh my god, what the hell is this?"
Lovecraft's like, you know what? Maybe white people are pretty bad too. Let me.
Yes.
Well, fortunately,
this film's so bad it can make Lovecraft vote against segregation.
Let's move swiftly on.
Yeah, fortunately, I picked a movie that is tolerable by comparison to when you're looking at the other two movies we watched. This one's very much like a normal film.
Yeah, it's just essentially video game slasher movie, and apparently Elizabeth Bathory is now from New Orleans. So rather than 17th century Hungary.
Yes, Stay Alive. It's a movie I've seen many times in my life. And what I think, well, because my wife loves it, and for a long time, for me, it was free on YouTube. It is apparently not anymore. But I've watched this, and just every time for me, this movie is bad because it's instantly dating itself in so many ways. It gets so many things wrong, and it's also very clearly a bunch of older, out of touch people trying to be like, so what are the kids these days? What are they like? What are they into? It's a how do you do fellow kids genre movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam and Kieran, you both played video games of this era. Do you recall the time where you and your friends all got together with your separate PlayStation 2s to play a multiplayer game that you only have one copy of?
You know what?
No.
Somehow I don't. I was more of a Game Boy person, so
I think the closest thing it was a bit after this, real. I do remember at university getting 2 TVs in our shared living room, putting them kind of facing each other, and get setting up 2 Xboxes so we could all kind of system link and play Halo. But that's about the closest I've got to this.
We did LAN parties for like Halo 2 and some not PlayStation, PC stuff. But like we did not all have one copy of a game that we put in to our multiple PlayStation 2s connected to our multiple TVs where we then played a multiplayer video game online together.
Yeah, really, it should have been like them all crowding around one tiny screen that was split up into even tinier split screen.
Four at most, and for a PlayStation 2, 2. Just the fundamental logic of Stay Alive makes no sense. And it's made by people who don't understand video games and are just like, well, video games are cool. UA Ball's making Alone in the Dark, and people made Mario, so it's time to cash
There's been 3 Resident Evil at it, 2 and a third one in the works by now, like, we can do it. And amazingly enough, I do actually think all of the Japanese, the kind of the Asian kind of horror films of this time have an influence, because if all you have to do is, if you'd have given this plot to Takashi Miike, this is essentially just One Missed Call but a video game. There is no difference.
It's still like a tech paranoia kind of horror, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, this fits very much into that mold. But like, it's really stupid. That's the difference
with
between
awful
this
CGI.
and Shudder. Yes, and boy, that CGI, it opens because every time a new video game console comes out, well, this is the new and best in graphics, and they chose 2006 as the era that we're going to immortalize, and everything looks so silly and bad. Because
it does make it easy to tell when we're in the video game and when we're not. So I'll give it that.
And also, CGI graphics, one issue with them is they're really easy to tell apart from stuff in this era, so it'll look bad. And at least it's supposed to be a video game here, but it still looks stupid.
One thing I will say about this is it's like, yay, we're back to the like overly saturated kind of like washed out kind of not washed out, like the whited out kind of things that you have in horror movies this era, especially like slasher movie remakes. They all and it's not a good aesthetic, but every time you watch it now, it's slightly nostalgic. It's like, we got that aesthetic, yay! It's like, oh god.
The general story of it is, these 3 kids are playing a video game, and then they all are killed mysteriously, and then one of the friends of one of those people, he goes to the funeral and is given all of his friends' video games, including the cursed video game. And he meets this girl at the funeral, and so the 2 of them and then all of his friends sit down to play the cursed video game. Oh, and his boss also is playing the cursed video game with them. Again, how does he have a copy of it? I don't know. But then they all start running into problems because the video game's haunted and there's a ghost story and they gotta solve it.
Yeah, in the nicest way, if you can imagine Ring, but it's Final Destination deaths. And
Yes.
then they've decided that a countess born in 1560 in Hungary is actually born in like the 1700s in New Orleans and is the CGI ghost behind it all. You have this movie and it's as bad as it sounds. Like, here's the thing.
I,
This plot, if it was made now, would be straight to Netflix. And
yeah,
considering Netflix has got stuff up like Choose or Die, which is a similar kind of the video game. There's an evil entity in there, and it's going to kill you off one by
yeah,
one and make you play stuff and stuff like Countdown and Elevator Game and stuff
yeah,
like that. It's on Shudder.
yeah.
That's what it is. But somehow, like, it has a half decent budget and it's still awful. It's just, I don't
I
understand
mean,
the thought process behind its creation.
yeah. I mean, I describe it as Scream meets Jumanji, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like basically everything that doesn't make sense. It's kind of strange logic 'cause it's basically magic, isn't it? It's like this witch's curse links to this video game. It's like any logic can leap. You could say, oh, just a witch did it.
Well, and
Just don't worry about it.
Witch power.
as far as I could tell, it is also the origin, not of the idea, but the origin of the phrase, if you die in the game, you die for real, which was the tagline on the poster. And obviously that had
I
happened.
wish I'd have died in the game.
Yeah, that idea exists in other movies before this time, but I think that specific phrasing is from this. So sort of the first thing that I think is just really dumb. It's all of the kids and their names. So like they're of indiscriminate young adult age, like 18 to 21-ish. But their names are crazy. So the first guy that dies, his name is Loomis. That's not his surname. That's his name. His name is Loomis. There's an October. There's a Phineas. There's a guy who's presumably nicknamed, but I don't know, might be his real name, is Swink. Hutch.
Yeah. Is Swink Frankie Muniz?
Yes, Swink is Frankie Muniz.
Yeah.
Then there's Miller. So there's multiple people whose first name is a last name, and then they have a last name. So it's like Miller Carter and Loomis, I don't know, Johnson, and Hutch Williams, and
I hate to tell you, I've got the cast on here. It's Hutch McNeil.
Yeah, October doesn't guess her surname, I don't think.
In the credits, I'm guessing, Sophia Bush as October Bantam.
There you go.
Okay,
Lewis Crowley, Miller Banks. They have them, but it's just like.
And by the way, if you want to know why does my wife like this movie, Sophia Bush. There's the answer. She's if y'all aren't familiar, she's the American version of one of those random UK TV celebrities you guys would know about. She's just in a lot of shows. She's a star in One Tree Hill, which was going on at this time, and the creator of that show was abusive, a Me Too sort of dude. And in this film, when she gets dragged by the chain up onto the ceiling in the abandoned house, she nearly broke her ankle doing that stunt. And also, the creator of One Tree Hill told her that she could not, she'd be kicked off the show if she did this movie. But she did it anyway, presumably because she hated the guy so much.
Just to point out, this is 2 out of 3 of our movies have somebody at some point being dragged by a supernatural force, like arm on the floor, arms going out backwards into the dark. It's weird because I also watched the original One Missed Call as well. That's in that. It's like I've watched 3 movies in about 24 hours. That exact same shot happens while it's going on. It's so bad.
That Abigail, she does have a normal name at least, so there's that. But yeah, that's the first space where they're trying to be very hip. Sophia Bush's character, October, she's just like, well, we got to make her a goth girl, because that's cool. And so, like, but she's also a mom. She's like she's not literally a mother, but she's like the group mom where she's like, are you doing okay? And always checking in on people. And whenever Phineas is in danger, she's like, I love that kid. He means everything to me. And it's like, I mean, I get it. He's your brother, but like, aren't y'all twins or something? Like, why are you calling him that kid?
She's also the one that will do the inevitable task that we have in these films of research, going to the local library, which stands in for the high school library,
Sure.
which automatically has a demonology and witchcraft section because every high school library has one, even though it's not a high school in this case. And they read one book by normally a very uncredited, unreputable author that states explicitly how you do it. Not one way that it has been known to happen is this. However, this has been disputed by other sources which claim that, no, this is how you do it.
Yep.
And this is how they will try and do it. And it's meant to work. So I'm glad we got that trope in.
It also has, I don't know if it's a Google search or if it's the reference library search,
Bing.
but yeah, there's a computer search in the movie. She's also the one who, as Kieran has touched on, relays the true story of Elizabeth Bathory, where she's like, Elizabeth Bathory did this, she did this, she did this. All of these things are true. Therefore, the insane plot of this movie is also true, by the way. Like, I love that logic, which obviously it's a horror film. But all of these different things are true. Therefore, we are actually being haunted. Not how that works.
I just remembered a couple of years ago for Horror Addicts, I actually did an article quickly running down about 1,000 words, Elizabeth Bathory. So I'm busy rereading some of that, and some bits I did remember. So there are evidence that she had an illegitimate child, which then given away. No evidence for that. This is the original Elizabeth Bathory. Stories of her aunt introducing her to lesbian and bisexual orgies and getting her into black magic, witchcraft, sorcery, and again, no proof at all. Which isn't to say that didn't happen,
the movie.
but we didn't. I think it's mentioned that.
Well, sorry, the gay stuff not mentioned in the movie.
And it's like, you know, a load of this stuff. Essentially, the original Elizabeth Bathory, she was like an heiress in like 1500s when kind of borders between Austria and Hungary were changing. So she became heirs and kind of like married to places where she wasn't, you know, technically from there because the borders kept moving and political alliances kept changing.
It's interesting you say that because that's like a Dracula thing. It was existing on the edge of the Ottoman Empire and, and Europe.
So she did actually own castles in Transylvania, which is one of the reasons why people think Elizabeth Bathory might have been inspiration for Dracula, but there's no evidence for that at all.
That's tight.
And that's why she's sometimes, for example, Hammer did Countess Dracula with Elizabeth Bathory as that. But yeah, it's just like, so Elizabeth Bathory was a real person, and there's a load. It's very interesting stuff going on at the time. And please bear in mind, the real Elizabeth Bathory, they're like, oh, she drank human blood, she was desensitized to violence. It's like she grew up in like the 1560s and 70s and 80s in a very violent place in kind of, you know, in Austro-Hungary and all that stuff where there's heads on spikes, there's tortures in your castles. Like, she's going to be desensitized to violence very early on. Like, if you're not, like, you are a very fine human being and better than most of us. So, and then this film instead of actually just importing all that lore, which we already have, or making up a completely new story, which would be perfectly logical to do.
Sure.
Because you just go, you know, it's okay. There was a witch in 1700s New Orleans. I don't know when the Salem witch trials were, but it's not that far off in terms of timeline.
Or you could do that stuff too. Like,
you can say she was, I don't know, it was somebody that was like a slave plantation owner that did a load of stuff. You can bring in a racial element in the 1700s, America. You know, that is completely like par for the course, and anybody would have done that. What do we do instead? Elizabeth Bathory. She's from like Hungary. Don't worry. Why don't we come up with her account? Don't worry about it. Yep. Nobody will care. I'm watching this going, why? Why would you even decide this? This is like taking, again, like Dracula and going, yeah, Vlad Dracul, yeah, he was from Australia.
Yeah.
He was from Australia and he was born in 1850, mate. You know?
And then there's a character who's like, yeah, he actually did live in Melbourne. That's true. He did murder and eat children. That's true. And then just going through and naming every. He was
actually born in 1950, mate. You know, the legends that say he goes on for a lot longer, they're just making it up. You know,
loves sugarcane toads.
It's like. Well, I'm so sorry to any Australians.
Apologies. Apologies if we somehow have Australian listeners. They've like, switched off now.
It's just like, why do you not create your own character? All you have to do is make about 2 changes to the name, and it's done. Like,
October is also there to just generally, you know, confirm horror lore stuff because she's a goth girl. So
Yeah.
throw down a rose. Oh, that's because spirits can't pass over the threshold of a rose stem. And it's like, oh, you just know that. Okay.
No, it is
Cool.
explained in the game.
No, I'm aware, but she says it out loud, like, to everybody.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I must have missed that deliberately.
While they're playing the game, yeah, she explains that stuff. That video game scene is just, it's ridiculous. They all have a different screen where they have unlimited options to design their character, which there's a scene where in that scene Swink goes, "Whoa, voice activated. That's next generation technology." Well, no, Hey You Pikachu had voice activated stuff on in 64. The next generation stuff is the sheer amount of character customization options in this video game, not to mention the insane in-person one-disc multiplayer online version of what is happening.
I'd also point out that like the Nintendo DS had like a little microphone in it that you could do stuff with as well. I think like one of the Mario games, like bonus games, you had like balloons you had, and if you blew into like the mic or something like that, it would inflate them or something like that. Like,
Nintendogs, you could talk to the dogs.
Exactly, like this is, and then shoving that in a PS game is not like massively. It's a little bit of a stretch, but the technology is conceivably possible.
Well, Swink would be playing Nintendogs like, wow, this is next generation.
Oh my god, they actually listen to me. They die if I don't come back on every day.
Swink, so he's Frankie Muniz, who's like, you know, pretty big TV kid star at this point.
Yeah, he's still. I think he's still on Malcolm in the Middle at this point, or he's just about to wrap up. I think it was towards the end of that show.
They make him a, you know, mid-2000s so random nerd guy who's wearing a poker visor backwards and upside down and sideways.
Yeah.
Which people make fun of him for it, and rightfully so. Like I would make fun of anybody who wore that hat around back then,
yes.
even. The main character is like just I don't know if they were going for self-insert like projection for the audience kind of thing by choosing the blandest white guy you could imagine.
Yeah. The main character is just dude.
Yeah, just dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his parents did die in a fire, which barely relates. Like it almost does not relate to any. Just at the very end, the building catches fire.
It almost doesn't relate in the way that, you know, it's brought up for the beginning. You go, well, that's how this film's going to end.
but it also doesn't relate to like Elizabeth Bathory, or it's just how the movie. It would be like, you know, Chekhov's gun is introduced, but then just kind of after the plot is resolved, that's when somebody pulls it out and like shoots. Yeah. I don't know, it's something that doesn't matter.
It's kind of like Chekhov's pointless subplot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should christen that as Chekhov's subplot.
Yeah, that he's fine. But yeah, he's a very nondescript white dude. They got for the cop. So there's two cops investigating this string of murders. Yeah. They got Wendell Pierce.
Yes.
To play Detective Wayman Thibodeau.
Who I've randomly seen in a lot of movies this year. I don't know, he just keeps cropping up. I think it's been
just one of those that you just keep watching stuff. It's like, oh my god, why are you here?
Just this year, he was in Thunderbolts and he was in Superman. Nice. I've randomly seen him in some older stuff this year as well. But
yeah, he's Perry White now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was in Twilight Part 2, Breaking Dawn. So Breaking Dawn Part 2, apparently.
In this movie, what the cops do is they just show up with these kids around, and they're skeptical. Well, I think maybe you did those murders based on what you're saying. But it's like, I don't know. That doesn't really make sense to conclude that for any reason. And then also, they go to the video, or one of the cops goes to the video game store where, like, caveman Matt Stone from South Park is there, and he's wearing a shirt that says Woot because it's 2006, and he's talking like, you know, a nerd would in 2006, and the cop's like, hey, you ever heard of this video game, Stay Alive? No, I haven't. Who's the publisher? Oh, I don't know. I didn't do any of the base level research to ask you thought out questions. Then he goes
Must
out
be
to
an
his
underground
truck and,
game.
yeah, it's an underground game.
And from that one conversation, the cop kind of suggests that nobody will have heard of it.
Yep.
From one guy that works in a video game store. Like, he could just be like, I don't know, man, this is my second day. Like,
Just the
I don't know
GameStop
everything.
employee.
Yeah, like, if you went up to somebody that works in Starbucks and asked for, like, a brand of coffee, somebody that just started working there, maybe, like,
A style of bean.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just pull and serve the coffee. It's like, okay, nobody's heard. There's an underground bean that's been poured in. Like, nobody's heard. Like, it's a ridiculous thing. I love that when they go and ask like the local guy, and it's not like the biggest city. Where is this meant to be taking place? This isn't like New York, you know. Yeah, so it's not like they go into like, I don't know, they ask about some kind of software and they go in and ask like the head of like the biggest Apple store in New York kind of thing for about like an evil app or something like that. Where you'd think if you go into the biggest Apple store in the world, the head guy would probably know about an app if it's been killing people. You know, that kind of thing. No, a local GameStop employee, a 2-minute conversation. Never heard of that one. Must be underground. Okay, nobody's ever heard of this. We're gonna have to do our own thing. It's like what? Moronic.
It's great. Phineas's character is like he's the jerk, but he's funny, like comedic relief, and he'll be like, hey mama, when he's talking to women, and he's played by the guy in Always Sunny who plays a McPoyle brother.
Liam McPoyle, yeah.
I can't unsee
Liam.
I think of it. I think of him as a young version of Ed Harris in Westworld.
He also turns up right at the end of Zodiac as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and like he's fine, but you know they just wrote the character to be like, well, he's a jerk, but he's really funny, and like I can't tell if I'm supposed to sympathize with him or want him to die. The real Chekhov's gun, as he discovers, is you can see, so mirrors shatter because Elizabeth Bathory would break them, so because it's like a picture of Dorian Gray thing or whatever, but you can use like polished metal that reflects, that's okay, and Phineas discovers that in the game before he dies, but then that's the real Chekhov's gun, is the blatant advertised Alienware computer that he holds up to Elizabeth's face that makes her, like, I don't know, explode or melt or whatever.
Medusa, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Gosh, what's the other really dumb thing about it? I don't know. The online connectivity doesn't make any sense. Like, because his boss has a very elaborate reason to be playing video games with them. At the office, he called his wife, had someone else call his wife to say he will be working late so that he could play a PlayStation 2 game online with these teenagers in his office, when it could have just been like, yeah, I'm a single guy, I'm hanging out at work playing video games. I don't know why they needed an elaborate story to explain why he's playing this game with them.
Here's the thing, I'm just seeing, just checking Wiki, apparently, so financial information from the numbers retrieved in March 2018. As of, so when it was released on DVD, they did an unrated edition and a PG-13 edition, which added new footage of a new character and subplot, more adult material. But here's the thing that gets me. The total amount of DVD units by December 2011, it was like about just under 875,000, bringing in 13 million in revenue. Bearing in mind the budget was 20 mil, so it made 27 mil at the box office. Make that like 13 mil of budget. That gets you to 40 mil in 2011. By now, it will have made back its entire budget of 2.5 times the budget. And so just as an interesting thing, I was looking at it, and this kind of proves that you cannot trust like box office numbers completely for the be all and end all, because it's the other kind of income streams that will make it up. Sorry, I found that much more interesting than this entire film of the McPoyle guy getting run over by very bad CGI
Yes.
horse and cart
Terrible
in a blur.
CGI.
Here's the thing: they did it really fast, so you couldn't see the CGI for that long to see it was CGI, but you could still tell it was CGI, and that's how you know it's bad CGI. Like, oh, I tried to hide it, I can still tell.
Oh, and then
stressful.
the other character is Abby or Abigail, Abs, whatever, and she is friends with one of the oh my god. So at the beginning, yeah, the guy's playing Stay Alive, he's on the phone with the main character, and then he hangs up and he dies in the game, and he goes out into the hallway to go see his roommates. He opens the door, they're banging, and the guy's wearing like a creepy pig mask, and like
For no reason
for
at
no
all.
reason. It doesn't make any sense. It's awful and hilarious.
Yes.
But yeah, at Abs, I don't know why she's in the movie. She lies about her background for no reason. She has no friends, no family. She's just a van drifter, and I don't know why. I don't know why she can't just be a normal person who lives in the normal town.
Because again, this is the time when all horror movies now you have to have characters with tragic backstories. It's starting to creep in at this point. Now it is impossible.
And
every main character in a horror movie must have a tragic backstory. This is the only way you're allowed to be the main character now.
I guess it's the main guy was an orphan, so they could connect on being sad. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. They don't even really like get together or anything at the end. But yeah, and
maybe they do in the unrated edition.
Maybe. Kieran, to your point, this all takes place on a plantation and has nothing to say about plantations. So it's just a place where rich people lived, you know? There's nothing else going on there. Yeah. Nothing else to say.
You know, if he'd have actually done that and then done the actual horror movie trope of the black person dies first, he would actually be able to say something about that. Like, it's using these tropes as a way of commenting on kind of values of life in the 1700s according to rich white people. But no,
literally the cop is the only black character in this movie, and like, you know, that's fine. It's probably to be like, yeah, black people could be cops, they could be authority figures, but then no other character is black or anything.
Also because they're not a main character, so they're allowed to be black.
Yes. Yep.
Boom.
And anyway. he doesn't die, so
this is called satire, people. This is called satire.
The thing is, this movie isn't terrible, but it's also not good, and it is entertaining in its weirdness.
I can kind of see what they're going for, but they just don't really hit the mark. You know, it's they're at least trying something a bit different, I suppose.
Yeah, but then also by doing like, you know, it's like any movie where, yeah, this is the latest and greatest technology. This cell phone the size of a lawnmower. You know, it's just going to end up being dated and look stupid. You're better off doing fictional future technology like the other movie, where like, how are they scanning all of this stuff into a computer? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Again, I think what is actually happening is we've got the kind of the start of kind of the remakes of the kind of Japanese horror films. So The Ring had come out in 2002, The Grudge comes out in 2004, Dark Water comes out in 2005. People are watching it, and the Americans gone, we want to make our own version because that's what this is.
I mean,
and the setup is roughly the same, but it's an American style version, and it's somehow worse than some of those remakes.
I mean, you would know better. It doesn't come across to me as like we're trying to make J-horror. It just seems more like we're making a cutting edge, cool, hip slasher movie with video games.
It's not so much that it's kind of the J-horror style. It's just that there's a kind of the idea of a vengeful spirit using technology to kill people off one by one sort of thing is very much in that kind of vein.
Its presentation is completely different, but it is kind of coming from the same original source, arguably.
The entire point ultimately is marketing when you use a branded item to kill. You know, it's like the Pepsi fight in Madam Web. Like the marketing aspect of it is just so in your face that it completely takes over everything from the film. Like this was all to advertise Alienware is basically what the movie ends up being. Which, by the way, is it a PC game? Is it a like it looks like a PlayStation 2 game? But yeah, they do all play it on computers, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's just a game at this point.
Yeah, it is game. It's
a game. Yeah, it's very game.
It is a ghost game.
Yeah.
So it can play on any.
Yeah, it is game. You play it on the game thing, whatever game thing you can get your hands on.
The director seems like he was fairly young, but I feel like most of the people writing, contributing to this were just not gamers. They weren't nerds. They were completely out of touch with all of that. And
even if it wasn't like the original script, by the time the director has to make it, it's just kind of generalized at this point. So maybe the detail was lost in translation.
Yeah. And they've wanted to do a sequel for years, haven't they? I think officially it's still in development.
Yes.
Follow up to this. So.
Stay alive.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Surely the sequel would be Staying Alive, and they get sued for it.
Ooh. Yeah, it's about disco this time around.
The sequel, Stay Dead. Please stay dead. I don't want it.
Yeah. Okay, Kieran. Why don't you bring us home with a I don't know, 30-minute movie that they stretched into 80 minutes? I don't know.
No, it's more a 2-hour movie that they cut down into 85.
Okay. It could go either way.
Yeah, it's not good. It's the One Miss Call remake, which probably people know from the absolutely god-awful poster, which I have seen for a decade until I was doing all the graphics to advertise this and realized that the eyes were actually mouths.
You didn't know that?
I didn't notice. I'd just seen it from afar and thought there were just like highlights in the eyes.
Yeah, it never registered. I thought it was just like a weird face with like spider eyes or something.
Yeah,
That's
amazing.
Well, the thing is, thankfully, I tried not to look at it too closely, which is what I hadn't noticed.
I've never seen this movie until this time, and all I knew about it was the poster with the mouths.
I hadn't either, thank God, because it butchers the original.
I talked you into it.
Yeah, well, stupidly enough, I was sat there going, "Oh my God." Second Cut used to have a rule that we don't do the same director too closely together, because otherwise you just end up doing like all Hitchcock movies or all Kubrick movies or all Scorsese movies like very close together. And I was like, oh wow, we've done like a second Takashi Miike movie very close together, and then I have to go, oh no, but I'm not talking about that movie. God damn it, I'm not talking about the original. And everything I can find online is just like automatically comparing it back to the original. I just want to talk about the original movie, but I've got to talk about this absolute dumpster fire of a hack.
I mean, I'll also see. I didn't get around to seeing this remake, but I've seen the original kind of in the last couple of years. I don't think it's one of the better of that kind of style of Japanese horror. You know, that kind of cycle. Really, it's fine. It's interesting. You know, and Takashi Miike will always serve up something that's kind of technically well done. But I don't think it's as effective as like your Rings or Grudges or stuff like that. Really,
this could also be Ring, but Ring : Tone.
Yeah, so I mean, I was watching reading again some of the research I was doing today, reading most of the chapter from Valerie Wei's book, Japanese Horror Films and Their American Remix, Translating Fear, Adapting Culture from 2014, and they've got a whole chapter on One Miss Call and the remake, and the thing they were saying is that a lot of One Miss Call is kind of a postmodernist kind of take, if you like, playing on the fact that a lot of these things already exist, specifically Ring, specifically Dark Water as well. And when you get to the US film as well, that's obviously also bringing in, there's a style of it which is bringing in things like Final Destination. She explicitly mentioned Final Destination, like, yes, because there's a scene in it where kind of one of the deaths is caused by a building exploding and like part of the shrapnel kind of spearing around. I'm like, this is a Final Destination death. Straight up,
it is.
Like it's not like a ghostiness anymore. We're playing into this kind of the American franchises that go in there. So there is some stuff there. And there's a point in both versions where the respective characters kind of cradles the skeleton of a person that they found in a kind of soothing way, very much reminiscent of Reiko in the well in Ring, clutching Sadako, and there's a similar scene in Dark Water as well, which I watched literally about 10 years ago. I've read the novella more recently, and that was about 8 years ago, so I can't remember that scene, but that will have happened when they find the body. So it is drawing on those things. The thing with One Missed Call, the original, is that it comes out in 2003, based on a novel from 2002 by a guy who is mainly essentially a lyricist. And looking him up, he's like, if you add up all like the Japanese kind of sales for the songs that his lyrics have been in, is essentially kind of one of, if not the biggest selling of all time, kind of the stuff that he's written on. So he's very big in that kind of world. And he wrote the original book, which Miike then adapted. One Missed Call, the original, kind of comes in the middle towards the end of this kind of cycle. So you've got things like Ring, kind of kicks it off, even though there's stuff before it, like Cairo, remade as Pulse in the US in 97. So Ring comes out in 98. You've got sort of, and then Spiral as well. Ring 2 starts coming out, I think, 2000, 2001. At the very least, Shimizu's done the first 2 Grudge Ju-On films, because there's Ju-On Curse and Ju-On Curse 2. Grudge comes out in 2002, I think it is. Suicide Club, I think, is 2001, maybe. This comes out in 2003. And then you've got stuff like The Eye, which comes out in 2004. Shutter comes out in 2004. Noroi comes out in 2005. And everything starts to fade off around that point. Those are kind of some of your main core texts. I mean, you even have things like Perfect Blue, which have sort of similar ideas, but again, that's animation. So it's kind of the second tier of those. And it's towards the middle of the end. So it's drawing on these films that are already in existence. And it's still good in its own right, but the things are starting to wear off. By the time you get to the remake, it's been 10 years since the original Ring comes out. It's been 6 years since the adaptation by Gore Verbinski. You've had adaptations of Dark Water. You've had adaptations of The Grudge. You've had, I think, the remake of Shutter comes out the same year. You know, essentially, the stuff's already been parodied in Scary Movie 3, I think, is out by this point. Everybody knows the gist. By the time you get to 2008, it's old hack by now. You know, old hack. Everyone's kind of got the general thing. And it is essentially the Ring with cell phones. You know, there are scenes, especially in the original. There's a similar thing in the remake, but the original it's slightly more distinct, where one of the characters goes into like an alley after a funeral, and there's a load of young people talking about something, and they go, "Hey, do you know what happened?" And they give some beginning explanation. Oh yeah, there's a thing where you get a cell phone call, and it's from the future, and it tells you when you'll die. And that is ridiculously similar to the same scene in The Ring, where Reiko's gone to the funeral, and there's people talking about this cursed videotape and ask them about the cursed videotape. So it's drawing on this.
Well, I was wondering, how did this original novel not just get ripped for ripping off things like that? Unless it came before them.
No. So the original novel, I think, was 2002. So it was in the height, and essentially, I think it was a bit like how sort of after Jaws and Herbert's The Rats, I think I mentioned before, all the pulp novels just went animal attack stories. So you've got things like The Cats, you've got things like Croak and Slugs and stuff like that, and it's like, it's one in a trend. I think it's a similar thing where it just came out and everyone was doing roughly the same thing. You know how when The Conjuring started, now there's just ghost movies, everything's all just a ghost jump scare in Hollywood now. Similar kind of thing. So that's going on, and the Takashi Miike film, a lot of it it's interesting because he does move a camera, but then there are times when he knows just to keep it static. And this is something he does with Audition. It's something you see a lot in the original Ring. Shimizu in The Grudge just goes all out because he's very much like, can I do the same thing but make it like a slasher movie? Miike keeps a lot of the time, keeps it, you know, when he needs to build atmosphere, he'll just lock the camera down and just go, okay, go for it. And possibly this helps him crank out 30 movies a month. But, you know,
not
a lot
moving
of it
the
is,
camera, he could just move sets in and out.
he can just, okay, we can have it here. It's great. I don't need to move anything. Just make it work and its atmosphere. Because I think, and especially if you watch, like, I'm going to say Hollywood blockbuster movies now, literally, unless it is a shot reverse shot kind of conversation, you can probably count on two hands the amount of shots where the camera doesn't move. It is very rare because they're all about keeping motion, keeping moving, and that sense of speed and movement. In these films, and especially Mika, knows that sometimes to build the tension, you just stop the movement and you just have static shots. And he will do that quite a lot through this film. And when it's a 2-hour film, there is pacing, it's slow build up. You have your big set pieces, because Mika is known for throwing everything out there. Everything, whenever somebody goes, oh, there's an insane movie, I go, yeah, get Takashi Miike to make it. He'll make it 3 times as insane. But he also knows when to bring things down. This movie does not. The one was called remake does not. It goes the American. I'm going to say American way, and I apologize for that, Jacob, because the Brits also do the same
Hollywood,
thing.
like
the Hollywood traditional way of more is better, which is in the same time when you can have build up for one really good sequence. Like, why do we have 3 minutes of build up when we can have 2 different like appearances of phantasms in that time? And it's like, because then it's just a thing that happens. It's not special or important anymore. I feel the same way about this. I may have mentioned the same. Have I mentioned H.G. Wells' Law? The idea he came up with a thing which is that when you've established a normality in a story, only bring in one thing that goes against that. So, for example, War of the Worlds, you've got normality and then it's Martians, or normal world and then a portal to another dimension. That is your one thing that breaks normality. If you add in more stuff like that, each one becomes less special. So War of the Worlds is great because you've got Martians, but if you also did a Plan 9 and brought in unicorns and zombies and vampires, and then there's also necromancers, suddenly you don't care as much about the Martians.
By the way, Kieran is talking about the latest Ice Cube War of the Worlds.
Yes, very possibly. I still have not subjected myself to. I thought about doing it for this, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So I chose this instead, or got pushed into this instead. Now I wonder if I should have done the Ice Cube War of the Worlds. Jacob is speaking as somebody who's seen it.
Well, you know what? I'd rather watch that than this movie, because my big thing with this movie is, Kieran, you're saying it just wants to get to the big things. What big things? What, like, it skips over about, I don't know, 50% of what would normally be the important parts of this kind of movie.
Well, that's the other thing as well. It just goes, let's split it up into smaller chunks and just go. Let's just throw random stuff at the screen. And people, because it's meant to be scary, people will get scared by it, and that's just not how things work. For example, there's a scene where one of the characters who's had a phone call gets brought on to do like a live TV show kind of thing. So late night with the devil, you are late to the party on this whole thing. And for Mika, that entire section of being on the TV show is a good 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes long.
Is it a Christian, like, pastor? Do they use, like, a Shintoist person? Like, what is that sequence like?
It is, I think, predominantly Buddhist, I think.
Okay.
But there are some
Ray
Christian
Wise
elements in it.
is a preacher in this movie, like a televangelist.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yes.
I think the TV show in the original, it was more just a generic like daytime TV show. I don't think it was expressly released. I think they might have had got a psychic on as like a feature, but it wasn't like a show about that. You know, it was just like one of the items.
I was hoping it was a Shintoist televangelist in the Japanese version, but that makes sense.
It's not. There possibly something along those lines. There was one of the notes in there that said it, but it's not explicitly Christian, for example. And essentially, what happens is that it's just awful.
It is. It's
this whole section of her going on TV. It's just like, I'm going on TV. Now it's the TV show. Within 30 seconds, she's getting possessed. Within 2 minutes, it's done. Mike stretches this out.
And that covers the span of an hour because the lady and the cops see them on TV and it takes them an hour to get there.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this version, is the ghost still an asthmatic girl who died in tragic circumstances?
It is.
Kinda.
It's a child.
Yeah.
Who
the broad strokes are the same. Yeah. So you've kind of got two children. You've got an abusive, uncaring mother, and then essentially the older daughter is essentially kind of abusing the younger sibling in order to get the attention. So look, I'm caring for the injured daughter because the mother is abusing it, that kind of thing.
So it's like, I think that was the same as the original, isn't it?
But I don't know where the phone calls come into it. Was it the younger daughter like calling for help, or I'm not clear on why the phone calls are happening.
Because how else are we going to spread our curse? Because this is a medium which we can use in order to exact our vengeance.
See, I was not really sure what was happening, and it turns out it's a little ghost girl, and then I don't understand why she's using a cell phone. I don't understand how any of this happened. Like,
to be honest,
being a little ghost girl breaks a lot of the American version of the movie.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't remember exactly why. Maybe there was a cell phone in the vicinity at the time. They used that as a medium. So, for example, in Ring, it's kept underground until somebody is literally, they open up a new cabin, and this is the original book, I think it is, and it's like a new cabin, and they use a VHS tape, and because it's right over the well, this is just a medium that Sadako goes, I can use this in order to enact my vengeance. I'm fairly sure the same thing is happening here. Why specifically a cell phone? Why it's a call into the future? I don't know.
Is there an explanation in the Miike version?
There must have been somewhere. I can't remember exactly why.
They do explain. So the dead people spit out a marble, which isn't a marble. It's a hard candy that the little girl would give the abused sister whenever she abused her, I guess. And so she would eat it, and that's why they all spit it out.
Yeah. So I think it's because when I'm guessing it's the mother kind of died in the hospital. I think it is the mother that died in the hospital, isn't it? Yeah. She got her cell phone with her, and therefore that's now being used. I'll be honest, the Miko one itself is a little bit fragmentary. And there's arguments about the postmodernism and the kind of virtual reality and all the kind of techno horror things that you can be fragmentary in this, and have kind of slightly more bleak endings and stuff like that. This is again stuff that Lee was talking about in this chapter. The trouble is, if you've got that in a 2-hour version, now shove that in a 90-minute version that also doesn't care.
85-minute version.
Like, I was being generous with the 90, and this is including credits. You know, realistically, it's an 80-minute film. It's just, it's stupid.
Sam, here you haven't seen the American version. The American version is pretty much this girl has a bunch of friends. They die in about 10 minutes, and then she partners with a cop for no reason, who's really creepy, to solve this ghost mystery. But like, in a normal American version of this movie, we would like follow the teenagers, and they would have, because they do have little lines where they're like, you're just using Taylor to make Leanne jealous, and it's like, ooh, so we're gonna get a love triangle. No, all of those people are dead except for Taylor, who's the TV show girl, within 10 minutes.
Yes, correct.
I mean, I kind of pride myself on not having seen any of the American remakes of the Japanese horror films.
Yeah, you know my dislike for the Gore Verbinski version of The Ring. I've unfortunately had to sit through this. I don't think I've watched any of the other versions, and my argument is, why would I when I have the originals?
Well, Kieran, hearing what you said about like where this comes in the period in 2008, you know, it's been so many years. There's been so many American remakes. Like there
Yeah.
must have been, on top of it not being very good, an exhaustion, and then also just a general, hey guys, it's 2008. We could pretty much all just watch the Japanese version at this point. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but
I mean,
it's an
I mean,
American
I mean,
version, so
yeah, yeah. I mean, they've moved on to adapting horror films from other countries by this point, haven't they? It's like we've got the remake of Wreck. Was
yeah,
it Quarantine?
Quarantine, yeah.
the roadmap to 0% on Rotten Tomatoes makes a lot more sense. Like, because I didn't find this movie like that horror. Like, it's not good, but like it within that context, yeah. No, on top of being boring and bad, it's also one in a series of boring and bad and unnecessary films.
Yeah, I think it's just like the accumulative effects of just audiences just being sick of this kind of thing, really. You know,
Yeah,
just
and yet, strangely
just done
enough,
with
the
it.
amount of academic scholarship on these cycles of remakes and translations is insane. There are stacks and stacks of it. Like, Aberystwyth Library, because I did research for it at various points on these kinds of films for various things. And each time I'd go in, you pretty much can't find any academic text on that cycle on its own. It's always in comparison to the American and Hollywood remakes. Interestingly enough, again, talking about kind of things getting changed, in the original, because Yumi, who's the main character in the original film, she's got a backstory where she herself was abused by her mother. When she finds in the abandoned hospital the kind of ghost of the mother of the ghost, names I've lost. I've again watched the second one. I've watched the remake. I've watched the other films. I apologize. I'm losing names, which is really bad for somebody that should have done research. I'll start noting down. Okay. Yeah. The mother.
It's the ghost.
Yeah. So the mother in the original kind of reaches out and kind of Yumi goes kind of I'm so sorry, and then like something along the lines of I'll be a good girl. And there's been arguments that kind of she's almost kind of saying that to kind of, is she kind of saying that to her mother? Is she kind of taking the place of the daughter of the mother of that's actually there, and that kind of thing? And there is no response from the advancing ghost as to where this stands. And a bit from Lee, page 188. Talking about this, so in this sequence, the maternal ghost could be ambiguously encompass both the abuser, Yumi's mother, and the victim, Marie, as they seek out and appear to reconcile with their child, Yumi. Thus, the visuals that initially hint violence and all this, blah, 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 blah. Then she goes, the ambiguity of the ghost's identity and its actions reinforces the instability and inscrutability associated with this encounter with the supernatural. And then in brackets, notably, one missed calls treatment of this same scene is markedly clearer, for Marie's corpse is actually heard saying, "Forgive me," as it creeps up on Beth. And there is no indication that Beth has mistaken this corpse for her own abusive mother. So essentially, one of the kind of subplots and little bits of ambiguity that they've got in there, which could be interesting of paralleling these two characters and the way they fit in with each other, it's just like, no, we're not going to do that. And it reminds me of when the Weinsteins got hold of Spirited Away, because it was the Weinsteins that did it, wasn't it? I saw the American version. There's a bit near the end where main character Spirited Away.
The little girl.
Shiro, isn't it? Shio?
Yeah,
Something like that?
Chihiro.
Chihiro, that's it. She goes across the river and looks back towards them, sees nothing there, and goes off. And the whole idea of that was me. I am losing names. Miyazaki. Sorry, I am so tired right now. And I've been ranting for 2 hours. Miyazaki said the whole point was there was no dialogue because the whole journey was inside. And the fact that she doesn't remember any of it does not change the fact that she has had an experience and will grow from it, and this is part of her inside. When the American version came out, they added a line of dialogue in there to make it seem like that she actually remembered part of it. It was completely against the internal workings and kind of allowing the audience to do things and come up with their own interpretation. And there have been numerous examples of films getting translated for American audience and remade, and then the American studios going, you're going to have to change that because American audiences will not understand. So this is a general thing that American kind of Hollywood producers, and I'll change it to Hollywood because obviously there's going to be some British executives in there as well.
Yeah.
There's going to be some execs from New Zealand and Australia and France and stuff like that. But the people that are in charge of American Hollywood remakes of other cultural films are specifically changing things because they do not believe that the American public will actually pick up on stuff. So they ask for things to be made explicit. And this comes into this a lot. And then it's just also
it's as if
badly
that even
shot, badly done.
matters when you're making the American version. Like if you're going to expressly say, "Oh, this is who this ghost is," well then why even include it? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's just they just try to shove everything in, and it feels dull. There is no artistry. There's no care. There's no love. There's no attempt of any kind of sustained sort of anything. It's just let's throw stuff on screen, look out a window, oh there's a vision, vroom, gone. Okay. There's like literally everywhere you look, like I remember them Wes Craven saying with Scream that essentially, and I think John Carpenter said it, essentially people now have kind of things of you need some kind of scare sequence every so many minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the audience will get bored. And it's almost like they took it for this and went, yes, we need one every 2.5 minutes. Something every 2.5 minutes. It's absurdly pointless. It is a pointless exercise. It is a pointless film. It is a waste of celluloid. It should be burned. There was no reason to make it other than a cash grab. It didn't even make that much money at the box office because everyone was tired of it. And they were just like, we've already got Ring. Why do we need this? Like, you know, the Ring 2 had come out at this point. Like, this is just completely off the radar. Nobody cares. It's just, they try and ruin anything that was good about it anyway. And Miike was drawing from American films for this one as well. You know, the original Ghost in the original One Missed Call is a lot more malevolent than somebody like Sadako, who could be argued has had a lot of bad stuff against her. I think Lee, again in this chapter, uses the phrase more sinned against than sinning, which is a Shakespeare phrase, that you could have argued that somebody like Sadako was somebody that is kind of acting up because of all the stuff she's had put against her. It is a revenge kind of thing rather than like a Iago style, I mean for the point of it. Whereas the Ghost in One Missed Call, both versions, are sort of more, I'm going to be evil because I am evil and I can do that. So this is very much more of a slightly westernized take of a specific good and evil sort of dichotomy. There's not as much of a balance.
Another fun part are the rules. So like, well, what can we do? Let's take the batteries out of our cell phones. Oh, it can still call us. And so they know that, and people are still standing around going, yeah, delete my number out of your phone. When we have seen, as the audience, the ghost dial numbers, not use contacts, dial numbers with ghost hands to call people. Like, there's nothing you could do. You could throw away your cell phone and you will still get the one missed call. And they never really address any of that or show how you can get away from it, or I don't know.
No. And there's a difference in the ending as well, because in Miike's film, essentially right at the end, the ghost is not kind of quelled, and Yume gets possessed right at the end and kills the kind of detective or stabs the detective guy that was, you know, helping her. So it's almost like we kind of solved one thing, but the curse has passed to another form almost. This is kind of it's taken on. Whereas in the American film, the detective kind of gets stabbed by the ghost girl who is at the door, tries to come in, and the mother comes and specifically saves her and carries her away. There's a little bit right at the end because the phone continues to dial, but there is more of a emphasis of good and evil rather than a merging of the two in the Miike film, which is again more of a thing of some audiences, it is perceived they need a specific dichotomy. There are good characters and evil characters, and they have to be the two. Whereas you can have the original a lot more kind of complexity and subtlety of one and the other blurring into one. And it just kind of makes this version, like, you just hear about it and you go, this sounds an awful lot more dumb Like from just an intellectual point, regardless of filmmaking techniques, it just is dumbed down because somebody thought people aren't going to, they might not understand the idea that a person can be good and bad at the same time, and that spirits might straddle the line between the two. No, we have to have good things and bad things, otherwise, no. And it's just, it's infuriatingly stupid in every way. Then they try and cram it into 80 minutes, and it's just, you want to throw something at it. You really do.
The only vaguely interesting thing in it is probably completely stolen from Miike's visual version, which is probably directly adapted from the book. But the main character like had a bad experience with a peephole, and there's all these different Freudian style peephole shots that are cutting between like the past and the present, and then finally the detective also dies, like getting stabbed through a peephole. So
that's in the original. That's in the original. Although the detective doesn't get stabbed through a peephole in the original. Yumi goes up to the peephole, looks through it, sees it goes on the other side, and backs away as this kind of night thing comes through and back out, and then gets him another way. So they've reworked that and made it slightly more stupid.
I would say that is the only vaguely interesting original thing to the film, then, that the cop also dies that way. But that's really the only thing I picked up on that was like a little bit interesting, but was surely stolen from the other movies and movie and book. And for the most part, it was.
I haven't read the book because I only found out it was based off a book about 2 days ago. So I have yet to get onto that. I probably will do at some point for a laugh. But do not watch One Missed Call. It has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes for justifiable reason. Maybe I'll give it 2% because it had some good source material, and therefore inherently some ideas on there are interesting. But it's not because of this film. It's because it's something else. Like a bad version of Shakespeare, you can't give 0% because there's some Shakespearean ideas lingering in there. But the movie itself is still not good. Please don't watch it.
I would not be surprised if even Miike's version of this isn't like astounding.
It's got like 50% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Yeah,
and everyone's gone.
It's fine.
Miike is what makes this watchable, essentially.
We're already adapting a mediocre.
It's very much mid-tier Miike, but it's fine.
I actually like the original a lot more than other people seem to do. I think I've recently re-rated this on Letterboxd as something like 6 or 7 out of 10. I actually very much like it, but again, it is in kind of my research wheelhouse anyway. So I like it for those reasons, and also there are quite a few scenes which are very much effective. But it is very much gone, what happens if we took Ring and made it a slasher movie? So I can see why people think it is a dumbing down and gone, oh, it's ripping off older films. It's like, yes, but in a kind of age where everyone's connected by cell phones, you're right at the tipping point of everything going into a postmodern Baudrillard kind of referential world. And so when you've got films talking about that, you can argue that's the case.
The One Missed Call version is not dipping into that in any way.
No, it's not.
It is very much grounded in the real world, and like people just happen to have cell phones.
Yes. I mean, in the Miike film, I think a couple of times where kind of the ghost appears, it does like almost like a sort of like a technological kind of glitching kind of movement, which you'd in other films you'd go, this is cheesy, and it slightly is here, but you can see why they're doing it, of blurring these worlds. So I actually do quite like the original film. This one is not good. One Was Called 2 is a film. I will probably, out of boredom, try and track down One Was Called Final, and there was a TV series as well, which I may go and watch just to complete the One Was Called set. This one I can guarantee you will be at the bottom.
And well, Kieran, are you able to write it? I should be writing all the movies I rent off as like a business expense for this podcast, but you could write this off as like PhD expense.
This is technically research.
All right, well, don't watch maybe watch Stay Alive.
The trouble is, if I use any of the same arguments in my research, and I have to quote this episode and reference it, I have to learn how to reference podcast episodes in in MHRA referencing style.
Yeah.
Right.
Please quote yourself in Judge forthcoming.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. The Viva there going, okay, so you've quoted yourself. Yes, I have.
Yes, I have. That it is
like,
an opinion.
why? The points were valid and I'd already said them, so I had to quote it. Anyway. That is a more entertaining idea than all three of these films put together.
Absolutely. And that's it for all of these three films. No one will ever discuss them again. But we'll discuss something else next week. Until then, guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where this week I've posted my review of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which I was lucky enough to see early as part of in association with London Film Festival kind of screening. So yeah, so I've seen that. I think it's out general release next Friday, I think, for about a week, hopefully a bit longer if Netflix let it stay in cinemas, because it is one that definitely deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible, and it'd be a shame if everyone had to watch on Netflix in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah. Hopefully you don't find me anywhere. If you do, I'm Caterers Mental in the various places. I don't have anything up from last week because I didn't manage to get to go see Black Phone 2. I'm going to try and get to it in the next week or two. So it will be up at some point, but it may be like a month after it comes out, just by the time I get to it. So,
But Kieran, you did put out 2 articles since we did an episode.
oh yes, Tron Ares and Good Voice. Sorry, we'd got them waiting to be released this time last week, so that's why they slipped my mind. But yeah, Tron Ares and Good Boy.
Yeah,
I think Substack might have gotten hit with the AWS outage stuff too. I'm not sure.
It did. Yeah. It wasn't working at all that morning, and then I think scheduling went down completely for a few hours as well. So
yeah,
that's what we'll blame.
You can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I also have not gotten to the theater, but you know, maybe I'll go see that Luca Guadagnino movie or whoever it is that's out. I will write something. It'll be there. If it is, it'll be at the Second Cut Substack. So go check out at Second Cut Pod. Emails to secondcutpod@gmail.com. All that good stuff. That's it. So until next time, thank you for listening and goodbye.
Adios.